Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the LCK Summer 2020 Promotion Tournament. I'm Atlas. I am joined by the Valdanalist himself here at Lowell Park. I haven't been back here for a really long time. You were here just a couple of days ago, but
yeah.
It's really good to be back at the desk.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
This is your first time back in months? Over a month at least.
Yeah.
And we are back here, of course, for the promotion tournament. And happy to be here as the Valdanalist, filling in for LS today. And it'll be interesting to see what these challenger teams can do. Can they actually challenge the bottom teams of the LCK? Because I feel like now is the prime time. There's a lot on the line.
Absolutely.
And I think that both SANDBOX and Griffin can be overtaken right now.
Exactly, and with franchising coming in 2021, this will be the final promotion tournament that we will ever have here in the LCK. It is bittersweet, but it is certainly very important, especially to the teams that can potentially qualify. You save $2 million off buy-in if you qualify via the promotion tournament. If you get yourself into the LCK, it is a lot easier for you to keep your spot if you're already there. So it's almost like this tournament is all of a sudden added a $2 million prize pool to it.
Pretty much, yeah. For the orgs, it's huge.
Yeah, just insane.
It's massive.
But this is how the promotion tournament is going to be run. Today, of course, SANDBOX versus Team Dynamics and Griffin versus Sorry Gaming. Some very familiar names in both of these challenger teams that we'll go over very soon, but the winners match will then be afterwards, the two winners of both of our matches today, and then the winner of that will be promoted to the LCK, and then the loser match is sort of where things get exciting, because the losers, they play off, and then they play the loser of the next match, the one that I was just talking about, and then they will play a best of 5 to get into the LCK on our final promotion day in a couple of days' time. So it's certainly intense, but thankfully, this time around, we don't have triple best of 3 days. We've had enough of those so far in the LCK, so it is just going to be BO3s.
Good riddance.
Yeah.
We don't need that anymore. And coming into this one, you know, I was talking with some of the Korean casters and doing a little bit of research, and they seem to think that Sorry Gaming has the best chance out of the two teams. They weren't super impressed by Dynamics, or Team Dynamics, and Sorry Gaming, you guys will see, has a lot of familiar faces on it, as does Team Dynamics, actually. So, if you guys have been following Korean League of Legends for a while, you'll definitely recognize a lot of the players playing here today. And it also does come down to, you know, which lineups are both of the LCK teams going to bring in. You know, who's going to play today? Is it going to be Summit or Lonely? Is it going to be Fate or Dove? It's definitely some questions to be asked, as SANDBOX themselves did have a coaching mix-up, as now Fantasy, the old StarCraft player, is the head coach, and Joker has moved into the coaching role as well.
In fact, 3 coaches have been removed from SANDBOX here, so we'll see whether that is going to be enough to make the difference. As you can see, they've been using all 9 of their players, actually 10, I believe. As Joker did play a couple of games earlier on. He has now officially been moved into the coaching role, so not going to be listed here, but the amount of different rosters we had come out of SANDBOX was like last year's Afrika. It was just insane. There was just too many mix-ups, and I think you'll be happy to know that Summit has returned to the top lane and will be playing here today. Few differences as far as the rest of the roster, but otherwise, that is good news. Looking at Team Dynamics, though, this is the team that actually played in the finals for Challengers Korea. Of course, how it works is if you're top of the standings, you auto-qualify to the promotion tournament, and then there is the next 4 teams play off in the Challengers Korea playoffs, and the winner of that was Team Dynamics, and they're the ones that made it through. Interestingly enough, they were 1 point ahead of Breon Blade to finish off second in the regular season as well. So certainly some close standings when it comes to the promotion tournament. But let's go into these 2 squads. SANDBOX versus Team Dynamics. SANDBOX actually selected Team Dynamics here, of course, theoretically the lesser of the 2 teams, but they're the ones that have the most recent on-stage experience, having just played through the playoffs and coming out ahead. So I don't know whether that necessarily makes them more or less scary, but maybe they just thought that they had a better matchup against this particular squad.
Yeah, and some interesting stuff here. Nods and support friends collide. Gorilla's first promotion, or his first promotion, as it says there, versus Googer's 6th promotion. So this guy is like the promotion king. I don't think that's really a good thing, but
if you're
at
a
least
former
he's going to get another
player,
chance, right?
Yeah, if you're a former Kongu player, obviously you've been to a lot of promotion tournaments, Valdez. That's just how that one works. Fate versus the faker of Heroes of the Storm, Rich. Rich was probably the best Heroes of the Storm player in Korea. He was absolutely amazing. Our friend Wolf wouldn't shut up about him as he was commentating that particular league right up until the end. So exciting to see him back now on the top side of the map. So Rich versus Summit is going to be interesting because it's word on the street is that Rich is a pretty good Aatrox player.
Yes.
I've seen Summit play some pretty good games on that champion as well. So we'll see what's going to happen on the top side.
We were joking before about first pick Aatrox. It's
don't joke about it.
It's safe because LS isn't here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think he might run off the desk, and I would have to come anyway because I think there's a decent chance that we see some Aatrox priority. As we're going to take a look here at Dynamic's 3 consecutive promotion challenges. They did not do very well the first time around, losing to Jin Air twice. They did defeat DSG, their challenger friends, in the losers match, just to lose to Jin Air. And then again in the 2020 LCK Spring promotion, they lost twice in a row to Jin Air and Hanwha Life.
And that was when Jin Air went on to lose and then continued losing in Challengers Korea. Jin Air had a chance to get back here, guys. They did not. I think they finished 7th when it comes to Challengers, so no glad planes here today. We are sad playing all day long.
Saddest plane ever.
Yeah, although Kuzan is a former Jin Air player, so maybe he's going to be able to reignite the engines of that particular plane. As this is going to be your SANDBOX roster, and I find this really interesting. Why isn't Dove playing? Because I think he's far and away better than Fate. But yeah, maybe Fate has something in store for Kuzan. I don't know.
It's hard to understand for sure, based on what we have seen. I think it's pretty obvious that you and I are on the same page in saying that Dove is the better player.
Yeah.
But I suppose Fate has been performing better in scrims or something like that, so they want to give him a try here in promotions. Whereas on the opposite side, for Team Dynamics, they don't have any subs, so this is the roster you're going to see every single time. Rich Beyond is back again.
Yep.
In
Beyond,
the blue.
then Yondu, then Beyond again, of course, was formerly on MVP. The team that did manage to qualify to Rift Rivals after winning that spring, by qualifying 4th in spring of like, what was it, 2018 or something like that. That's about the amount of accolades that MVP managed to get. But they looked okay at that point in time, and then things went off a cliff. But Beyond, or Yondu, was pretty good, in my personal opinion. As a bit of a comparison of stats here, this is going to be really weird because this is, of course, in different leagues. So being top of the league in Challenger and being bottom of the league in LCK is going to mix up these stats quite a lot. But you can see CS per minute is still something that Summit's pretty good at. And Summit is alongside Keen on these players that are still just really good. Their team just hasn't been winning.
Yeah. And production here in the Korean side of things, they love to focus on Rich. As, of course, we did mention, he was very famous in the Heroes of the Storm scene, and then came back into the scene when it did go public that he was joining in for League of Legends. As all the players looking pretty happy today.
Yeah, some big smiles. Of course, Rich debuted on Gen G, played a few games mid lane. It was actually hilarious in his first game. He just wasn't CSing very much. He was playing Kiana. He was sitting in brushes ready to kill people. And we were joking that, yes, this is the Heroes of the Storm playstyle.
Oh, man.
That being said, he's been playing League for a very long time now and was also still playing League when he was playing Heroes of the Storm. It's just that was the game that he was pro in and the game that he really found the most success in early on. So now let's see what he can do. As there's Gorilla on your screen, the man ready to lead his team back into the LCK and save SANDBOX a few $1 million.
Yes, and he looks like he was the only player that wasn't kind of relaxed, laid back. You know, he looked very focused, even though you could tell his teammates were joking on the mic. He was still sitting there very, looking straight forward, not a big smile on his face. He's come here with he's on a mission, right? He's got to get SANDBOX back into the LCK.
Well, we'll see whether they can do that and whether SANDBOX's new coaching staff is going to help things off when it comes to the draft. As already things coming out thick and fast. We've got the set ban coming through from SANDBOX Dynamics, starting off with the Syndra ban. And we'll see whether these 80 carries start biting the dust. I'm pretty sure, if I read it correctly, FaZe is 6-0 on Aphelios at the moment.
Yes, he is.
So not likely that they're going to let that one through.
Definitely one of the things that can be targeted. Notice that the Syndra was a first ban on red side. Kuzan did come in with a win there in playoffs and probably looked pretty good on that pick, to have it banned out. But having Thresh banned out afterwards is kind of interesting because we're running out of bans here. And this is going to cause SANDBOX to think long and hard about this, and they will take away the Varus off the board.
Yeah, Varus, of course, has been launching himself up in priority. We saw what Teddy did on it against Gen G earlier on, and that was a very fast tournament, a very fast final, sorry. Against Gen G, he was absolutely pivotal, so not going to be seeing that Varus pick just yet. Is Team Dynamics thinking about whether or not they want to give away the Aphelios first pick, and the answer is yes, as Summit's Jace is going to hit the bench for now. Fate could also be playing that one. It is theoretically a flex pick, but likely that it would be Summit. And taking away some of his most powerful picks is certainly a good idea. As on Fleek thinking about trolling.
We will be trolling here with the first pick of the troll Trundle. And unfortunately, I did not get my meme first pick, Aatrox.
Dang.
Thing to note here is that, as you were saying, the Aphelios FaZe is 6-0 on this pick in Challengers, and they immediately pick it. SANDBOX showing no priority on that at all, no bans, and no picks on it. We're even going to see Graves coming out here as well.
I think this was actually a legacy pick from Beyond as well. He did play this a little bit. Of course, it's many years ago that we did see Beyond in the LCK, so I might have to go through and have a look at the history books to see what his win rate is on that particular champion, but I'll let you know about that one.
Actually,
not in Challenger, yeah. It has really been a recent thing, as we of course saw Cuz first picking it against Gen G. As SANDBOX thinking about the center, we'll lock that one away. As we'll see what Gorilla wants to be using alongside it. As Fate thinking about Zoe right now. A little bit more of that long range, and they do lock away a priority mid laner. And now, where does Kuzan go? Does he play his Lucian? Or do they just pick Lucian to stop SANDBOX from being able to freely take something like the Aatrox because they flex it between Rich and Kuzan?
Yeah.
They do have a lot of physical damage, though, so maybe it's just not the right timing for the Lucian pickup.
Yeah, not sure about Rich on AP carries. He plays a bit of Mordekaiser. It's the second most played, but as you did mention, they're not going to go for the 3 AD champions just yet, as Mordekaiser could have been focus banned on the second phase here. So we do have the LeBlanc coming out here into the Zoe. This is a matchup that LS loves to talk about because Zoe used to be seen as the weaker one in the matchup, but then actually as Zoe's got better, they became the stronger one up against the LeBlanc. But we'll have to see how Kuzan can do up against Fate here, as we're going to see some top bans be taken away.
Well, sort of. It's a support ban in this instance because, of course, there's a center there. It does warp things a lot. We'll see exactly what Team Dynamics ban next. I'm expecting something like a Tahm Kench. Center Maokai has really eclipsed the center Tahm Kench there towards the bottom side of the map, but they're going to ban it themselves, so yeah. Okay, I guess.
You know, they thought Dynamics would ban it, so they saved them that time.
Yeah. They're like, well, we don't even care. We'll ban it first. Yeah. Here, have a free ban. Yeah. Not sure what that really means, but we'll see what they make of it.
How about a Volibear?
Well, I mean, Volibear's the next one.
Yeah.
On the list of things that you don't want alongside a center, and Lucian's going to be the one taken away. As Dynamics, they're banning away their champions. SANDBOX are banning away their champions. It's very, very strange.
Yeah. I suppose, as you were saying, they didn't want to put it alongside of the Graves and the Aphelios, but interesting that they thought that SANDBOX might pick it themselves, as maybe they want to go for their own Aatrox pick there
that
on,
is definitely
on R4. As Nautilus also going to be taken away here, and I think Aatrox is going to be the most obvious pick in the world.
Yeah. And these teams are definitely sinners, guys. If you have been paying attention to LS, these are teams that have just been playing mono red, mono red, mono red all season long, whether they be in Challenger or in the LCK. So this is absolutely no surprise whatsoever. Now, SANDBOX, what are they going to do to round out their roster? I'm expecting Gorilla to play a bear, which I think is really cute. He can also play this on, potentially. You can put him on the bottom side, but you don't get the levels that you really want to try and get those ornaments out as quickly as you can, so there's likely to go to Summit.
There's no Gorilla champion. There's only Wukong, but he's not a Gorilla.
He's a monkey.
Yeah. Maybe in the future.
We need to
it's
get
a good idea to Riot.
Imagine if Gorilla, like, game switched over to Overwatch. He could just be a Winston main, and it'd be totally fine. And he actually is a Gorilla. As I think maybe we either have Cannon support that Gorilla played a hell of a lot of, and he's going to be alongside the Fasting Senna, or we've got that Ornn support that I was talking about.
I suppose there is the tiny possibility that it could be Trundle support as well with Ornn jungle, but as LS loves to say, Korea would never do that because they don't like taking chances on weird comps and strategies. It's interesting to see Joker with the notebook.
I know,
with
right?
The headset on behind them all, as it does look like it is going to be that Ornn support that you were mentioning. Definitely the more common.
I mean, I actually like Cannon support in this spot as well. Actually, I think that would be really cool.
Still
and Ornn wins the Aatrox matchup. In theory, will mean that SANDBOX would have 3 winning lanes. Or, well, at least 2 winning lanes. Not sure how the center is going to go, but they are going to be parking Gorilla on the Ornn. And it was a thing for a while, of course. I think Marta was our most notable Ornn support player back when he was on KT. So that was many moons ago. As coaches are not going to shake hands because, of course, social distancing, guys. But they're not being rude. They're just being courteous. And here are your rosters. So we are... For the first time, I've been calling for the Ornn support for a really long time, and now that it's come, I don't know whether it's good, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. You take a look at this composition. They have some great pick potential with the Ornn support and the Zoe bubbles from ahead. In the mid to late game should be quite a nice comp, whereas on the opposite side, definitely going to be spiking hard at 1 to 2 items there with the LeBlanc and the Aatrox, but then you have the Aphelios and Graves to transition into that later game. So will be interesting to see which one of these teams is going to get ahead as we move into our first game.
Yeah, exactly right. Here we are onto the rift for game number 1, SANDBOX versus Team Dynamics. Team Dynamics desperate to try and steal away a spot on the 3rd time of asking here in the LCK. And this is their last chance. There is... like, officially, last chance. There is no other opportunity to get into the LCK. There still will be, like, an Academy League, but it is, of course, going to work very similarly to how it does in the LEC, LCS. Not going to be like Challengers Korea of old. So, see whether Team Dynamics can make it work here, as Gugu is just going to sit there, throw down some emotes, and Gorilla showing off that he has his own one.
Yeah.
The bees are adorable. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. The bees definitely high tier emotes in the game for sure. I like the I don't know who it is, but it's some female champion, and she has like a red and a blue, like what do you call them? Thunder sticks.
Yeah.
Right next to her face, like she's fighting. You know.
Yep. Yeah.
I like that one. I'm a big fan. And
it can
of course,
be really good to troll with that one as well. That one does work.
Oh, man. I feel bad for Janair, but I actually have the Janair emote as well, and whenever I do something really not great, I throw up the Janair emote. Oh, poor Janair.
Oh, that's
it just feels
sad.
It feels, you know, pertinent to talk about now because we are here in promotions.
Indeed.
And it'll be interesting to see how it goes. My eyes are going to be on this top lane, as this was the, of course, key player matchup, Rich. Excited to see him back here on our screens, getting to cast him.
I wonder if this is AD Cannon as well. You can see he's taken the Conqueror. Certainly can be played as... you can use this rune in order to just go straight into the AP Cannon anyway, but certainly an opportunity to move over to more of that AD style that I think only Cube demonstrated in the LCK this season. weird and wonderful things on this Rift thus far. And this one being the Strangers, as Gorilla is piloting this Ornn support. He is going to be getting a fair bit of money in this lane. We'll see whether it is going to work out enough. As, we'll have to see how Root proves himself as the ideal AD carry for SANDBOX, because the last time they played, they used Leo, so who knows, really? As Beyond, he's going to be taking his blue buff. He needs it. Doesn't have a lot of mana at the moment, but Graves does like to just clear through his jungle and stays extraordinarily healthy while he does so.
I'm just going to stack him up as well, although that didn't really work out Beyond. Now he's going to have some mana and get to that. So, yeah, I mean, he's just going to be chilling back there, scaling up alongside of Aphelios. But the Aphelios is going to be pretty interesting in this one to see if he can actually get work done against the composition that SANDBOX do have. Although, as you were mentioning with the Conqueror, it'll be interesting to see if Summit is just going to go straight, you know, split push Kennen, instead of like full-on hard engage with the Ornn on AP Kennen, which I think I would have liked to see instead.
Actually don't really mind going for more of that split push style, because Zoe can be very good at denying any sieges. Not to mention Senna also having a lot of those defensive options, and Ornn needs no introduction there. As on fleek, moving on around. And Rich is down very low underneath this turret. That Q is going to go wide, but you can see Summit is positioned aggressively in this lane early on. It's 14 to 30. Wow.
Yeah, Rich, I don't know what to call it. I mean, he misused his Qs, so he got the minions, the ranged minions, too low, and there were a lot of them stacked up. So he eventually just lost like 5 of them in a row. Yeah. Maybe a little bit of nerves. I'm not exactly sure. Obviously, it is very hard to lane into a Kennen that has gone AD with Conqueror and Doran's Blade, but at the same time, there were definitely some noticeable mistakes in the way that he was CSing. So hopefully he can fix that there.
Yeah, it shouldn't be the end of the world. Of course, like you said, it's a tough matchup anyway, as FaZe getting decent poke down onto Root and Gorilla, sort of playing against Root's mana bar at the moment, because of course does have that Piercing Darkness for the extra sustain. Gorilla just clearing things out. Root's going to miss the little orb there. A little bit unfortunate, but it's alright. We'll just have to see how this double pillar comp is going to work, as Gorilla and On Fleet can both put them down.
Yeah, the Ornn has a lot of things to bonk his head into.
Yep.
With this composition, we'll see how their teamwork does work out. And yeah, Gorilla is going to be getting a lot of the CS. He will be getting the gold, but of course he won't be getting those ever important levels because he is in the duo lane down in the bottom side. So will be kind of interesting to see exactly how it goes, you know, because we don't really get to see the support Ornn all too often. I suppose with the Zoe and the AD Kennen, there should be at least 2 guys where you can get a bunch of those good Ornn items onto.
Ow. Fate took a lot of damage. Kuzan going in for a good trade. Did use his Ignite though, and wasn't able to actually pick up any kills, but did manage to get the heal out of Fate, as you can see. But so far, Kuzan certainly in a winning lane. He was always a good LeBlanc player, actually, for the longest of times. Kuzan often having some really good performances on majority of teams that he was playing for, just not quite able to find himself success. He was therefore let go down here towards Challenger's career. But we saw even in the Casper Cup, team dynamics weren't too bad. Yeah. They were able to get some decent performances. QMax here out of Summit, and is still ahead by about 20 CS. It's going to go down to about 17 here, as Rich does manage to clear up those caster minions.
Yeah, he looks much cleaner when he doesn't have Summit breathing down his neck.
Yeah.
Of course. As TP is going to be used now by Summit up in the top side. And we're just kind of hanging out. Both these teams don't really look like they're going for any big plays. You know, On Fleek has just been farming, trying to keep up with Graves, which is impossible when you think about it. But he has just felt forced into that. You know, he tried to go for a little bit of a dive up in the top side, but it was spotted out by Beyond's good positioning. And so we're just farming here, Atlas.
It is certainly the lull state at this point in time. So to see whether I wasn't expecting this either, because these are two of our mono red teams. They have picked compositions that do like to fight at least around the mid game. I guess Aphelios is a little bit of an oddball there, and DYN is going to do the same thing as far as erring on the side of the scaling. So these compositions otherwise, you know, with LeBlanc and the Zoe wanting to play around that mid game very, very much. And Kennen and Aatrox also fitting into that basket. That's all right. Flash out there from FaZe as Gorilla not even having to use his. That is a win on the gank already here for OnFleek.
Pretty simple one there. You could see that Dynamics were going for that early Drake as another fight here.
That's the slicing Maelstrom on the top side of the map as Rich is about to get solo killed. Summit is looking for that last little bit, but the World Ender comes in trumps. And Rich is going to be able to keep himself alive. Down to about 200. Summit had to use his flash as well. That is just 100% a win by Rich. I am so sorry for expecting Summit to win that fight.
You know, I don't blame you, though, because it looked like he was so confident with how, you know, forward he was going, and it was almost this game of chicken where Summit was like, no, you're going to flash away from me, and I'm going to win this trade. And Rich is like, no.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to win. I have my passive up in a couple seconds. And at the end of the day, Rich was correct. I think that Summit may be overestimating his power there, even up a level still. Not able to take down the mighty Aatrox up in the top side. And so definitely a nice little win for Rich as ults just to clear the wave, it looks like.
Going to be able to do fantastically well there as the Sentry turret even going down. It's going to mean all of those minions do go begging as Fate does finally find himself a decent trade in mid lane. See Dynamics looking to try and answer what was some Rift Herald pressure. We see this all the time. But FaZe with his crescendo certainly able to lock down a lot of damage on this turret. Gorilla teleports back in though. That is going to be the end of that. So one plate is going to be what Dynamics get before SANDBOX make their way back down bot.
Gorilla with the TP, able to get there just on time, and that was the only place where they actually had a attempted gank. Speaking of which, Beyond was looking for it here against Summit, but they call it off. Can be hard to lock down the little Yordle that is Kennen.
Yeah, a little Pikachu.
Yeah, I was gonna say rat, but then I wanted to change that. One of my friends that I do it with, he always calls Kennen a rat.
The lightning rat?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with rats, personally.
Yeah, I think they're kind of cute, actually.
Yeah, me too.
I never really had a problem with rats.
Yeah. Plus, you know, if you think about the Ninja Turtles, rats are super cool, actually.
True.
Because Splinter was a rat.
Yeah.
And he was also the wisest, most amazing master ever.
Turns out rats are really smart.
Yeah. So I think rats are misunderstood. I think it might have been that.
Think about all their contributions to society.
Yeah. With
all the lab rats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That get tested on.
Making sure that all of our makeup is
here
safe.
We go.
Summit, he's not so safe. Slicing Maelstrom comes down, does get a decent snare. As there's the shield, but it's not enough. First blood goes to Rich on the top side of the map. As they knew there was no flash available, and they just took that one down. Fate, of course, did have a redemption, but didn't actually manage to do anything.
And my favorite part about that was the Zoe emote afterwards, the bye-bye sad Zoe. But yeah, this is just wonderfully set up. I mean, he's able to sneak into that forward brush. He baits him to come down the lane. And Rich, seeing the shield coming in from the center from downtown, knows he has to flash to go for the kill. Just great execution and a great setup there from the side of Dynamics. It's going to get that top lane in a really great spot after having trouble with the CSing, of course, as that kill also did go the way of Rich.
Yep, managed to get himself a plate afterwards as well, so that's going to make up a lot of that. And Rift Herald actually just bonked down here in the mid lane. You can see bot side gets inside track as well, as Fate's going to get a lot of extra money here as Fuzan looks to try and clear out the minion wave, but they're not going to be able to stop most of these plates going down. Only one more remains there in that mid lane. Great start so far from Team Dynamics, but SANDBOX do answer back in mid lane.
Yeah, they had a bunch of gold there. It was split between, I think, Fate and Root, perhaps. But still, definitely a nice chunk. The only thing is that FaZe did get a lot of time to just kind of solo the lane down on the bottom side with no pressure from the Ornn, so he has hit level 8 and is going to be up about 20 CS on the Ornn for now. As, once again, we will take a look here at the top lane. It still does look like the Cannon is in a pretty good spot for now. Yep. As Beyond is also going to come on in here. Keep in mind, he's level 9, and he's more than a full level ahead of On Fleek so far, who has basically done nothing except get the flash at a phase, and now he's got it back in time for Dragon.
Yeah, and Beyond should be able to lock this one down as well as we move towards a Cloud Drake, as he has the most gold in the game as well. Gorilla and On Fleek moving on around here, though, as it looks like Beyond might be able to lock this one down, but not going to be able to do so without a fight. As Kuzan off to the backside, they do manage to grab the Dragon, as Guga just stops that Ram from doing anything. FaZe now has to flash. Did have that one back available as a slice of mouse from immediate cleanse. Sorry, Exhaust comes in as Summit has to flash away, but he's burning down, and he's locked down by Kuzan. Kuzan off to the back end eventually falls, but this is a massive fight in favor of Dynamics, and it's not over yet. FaZe just so much damage with that Moonlight Vigil early in the fight.
Well, I have to say, if you, he has gone proto belts here, so it is going to be the AP Cannon, I suppose, but he just went so far in, immediately got exhausted, Summit that is, and they got themselves into such a sad situation afterwards, as this is super clean Dragon. This is textbook.
Yeah.
You take it down with the Graves, and you block it, but then everything is forced here from SANDBOX. They're like, we gotta get something out of this. And look at this, this is the perfect Moonlight Vigil from the right side. Kuzan comes in from the left, gets a huge distortion. And it doesn't matter, the game is too even right now for you to put yourself in that bad of a position and feel forced to take that kind of a wonky team fight. And it really came back to bite SANDBOX, because now they're in a pretty dire spot after that one. Everybody's flash is on cooldown, actually, in the entire game.
Yeah,
after
and
that
Beyond
fight.
can do absolutely anything that he wants at this point in time. 1-0 and 2. He's moving towards some Merc Treads as well as his Black Cleaver. So not going to have the Negan build this time around on the Graves, but he's still in a really, really good spot. And that level lead is only continuing, as he's 2 levels ahead of On Fleek right now.
Look at the item that Rich has.
Yeah, he's building for Death's Dance before anything, actually.
Yeah, first item Death's Dance. I think that would make LS pretty happy. No Black Cleaver here.
Well, not yet. Does, of course, have the the cheeky little Kindle Gem in his back pocket. So I assure you, we are going to see that Black Cleaver very, very soon.
Well, I suppose we might get to here as no cleanse for Kuzan. He elected to go Ignite, which makes him a bit stronger in the burst trades, but of course can get himself caught out by trouble bubbles from time to time. But
also a very Kuzan decision as well.
Absolutely. And he's been having a fine time in the mid lane, so can't really, in a results-based analysis way, I can't really blame him for that, as Rich is in an awkward spot here. But
Summit seems to be the one in the most awkward spot, though, as that Infernal Chain was one of the longest I have ever seen activate. It is able to deny Summit any entry into this river as Kuzan lands the chains, but is going to lose out on that trade as Guga puts up the wall and keeps this turret alive for the moment. Of course, turret plates have fallen down. Team Dynamics now sitting on very close to a 2,000 gold lead as we move to 16 minutes into this game. SANDBOX do have a lot of scaling options. The Ornn is certainly going to help them there. That's a great trouble bubble to land. They do get the ultimate out of the Braum, but otherwise nothing else to happen, and does help clear out that minion wave as Rich will be able to grab this turret up here on top side and grab himself first turret blood. Bit of extra gold going over to the Aatrox will get him towards his Death's Dance on this next back, and we'll see whether that Pahage is also coming in for the Phage for those playing at home.
We'll see what he does end up electing to go into as the dance is completed. And that top lane has really turned on its head. Of course, Summit still ahead on CS, but Rich doing a fine job in terms of the gold, of course, with his kill and assists. And Beyond has been just fantastic so far in this game. He's playing a great Graves, just sitting back. He's 40 CS of the Trundle, who has, again, really done nothing, even though he does have one
his
kill.
Top laner.
He has one kill, but, that's...
He didn't want that. He just wanted to kill camps. Like, he doesn't want kills onto champions. No.
He's going to be scaling up so much. He's going to be so strong. as this game does come along. And the double Black Cleaver will be interesting. I suppose nobody's really going to have armor on the enemy team, so.
And then the Aphelios is going to do about a bajillion damage.
Exactly.
Technical term, bajillion, I think.
About 5 quadrillion.
5 quadrillion?
Yeah.
I wasn't quite ready to make that call.
Take a look at the gold there on the left side. Only Fate is having an okay time so far in this game.
Oh, Guga, though. This is terrible.
Why do you gotta hate on the promotion king? 6th time
he
in
is
promotions.
the promotion king. Hasn't won a lot of them.
The
Brendan.
gatekeeper. Well, except he's usually on the opposite side of the gate, so I don't know.
Might be able to turn it around here, though, because so far you can see that Team Dynamics are doing very well against SANDBOX. This is, of course, a best of 3, guys, so even if this game 1 does go to Dynamics, it's still an opportunity for SANDBOX to fight back. Infernal Chains do land. Gorilla going down to half. And now you can see Root trying to get back in there. Is camouflage for the moment as Kuzan just dives in just to soften up the members of SANDBOX. And they had nothing that they could do to answer. Bubble lands, though, and this is the opportunity for the Zoe. That Dawning Shadow didn't really do too much there. And Dynamics move themselves back. The Dragon is started once again, but they are relatively split. This might be an opportunity for SANDBOX to get themselves in.
Very awkward fight from both sides, if I do say so myself. And yeah, it does look like Team Dynamics are going to have Beyond try to steal it, and they're actually going for a TP play here.
Yep, Rich is going to try and get forward. Oh, it's not going to be stolen away. It's the center that locks down the Dragon, but can they win the kill? The team fight, sorry, as the cannon is going to fall down immediately once again. The chains landed. Gorilla is very dead. SANDBOX walk away with the Dragon, but they lose 2 in trade for 1.
Yeah, Mountain Drake does go down. It's only 1 on their side. And they do have a bunch of guys that are going to be building resistances, so it's not negligible, but you can see what happens here as the Ornhorn. Cougar's not in position. I feel like he actually played this fight pretty poorly as he got super low very early on, but he was there to just be an exhaust bot, essentially, which did end up turning the fight here for Team Dynamics. So I suppose he did what he could at the end of the fight, but that's basically all that he could do, as because of the Ornhorn, it did block away Beyond, but still it did end up giving Dynamics the lead here. And they're going to be super happy with that. I mean, they're always going to have exhaust for every time that Summit tries to engage, and they have better scaling with the super ultra fed Graves and the Aphelios that's doing quite a nice job himself.
Beyond just wanders over. This is a camp on the map. It is therefore mine. Steals that one away very easily. And he's very close to his Black Cleaver. Completion will allow FaZe to do even more insane amounts of damage in these next few fights. 2-1 and 2 for Kuzan as well, whose mid-game is going to shape up very nicely now that he has received a couple of kills. It looks like he is going towards his Banshee's Veil next, and that will mean these trouble bubbles aren't going to be so scary as Fate not being able to find many of the key bubbles. The Paddle Star's going slightly wide in a few of these fights as well. We'll see whether Fate can turn this one around, because why is it that SANDBOX have Fate playing when Dove is one of our better Zoes in the LCK?
No idea.
Like,
it has to be like scrim results or something like that.
Yeah,
or,
it's very strange.
I don't know.
Maybe they get Zoe bans too much, so this is the way of getting Zoe? Not sure.
That would be some 5-head big ban strats.
Nice.
Yeah. Kuzan being a little bit of a sneaky fellow, just trying to find an angle there to burst someone down, as he does have his Luden's Echo already completed.
Both of these Black Cleavers just finished, as well as Team Dynamics probably thinking about a fight around the next Mountain Drake.
Now is such an awesome time for Team Dynamics to fight, as you were mentioning.
Yeah.
All the power spikes in the world going their way right now. SANDBOX desperately trying to fight here.
A lot of extra damage there from FaZe, though. See Root not wanting to come in. Center's, like, playing center is so scary, because it feels like you get breathed on by someone and you die.
Yeah. You just do a little bit of pokey and that's it. You know, with your
you do the pokey and you turn around. That's what it's all about.
And you try not to die.
Yeah.
Generally, you usually do die at the end of it, as we do get a zoom in there on the cool pillar.
Yep, Rich is going to take down the Popcorn Chicken Camp, and Summit's not going to be able to stop him there. So yeah, we're rocking out a little bit, is Root, but not quite able to find too much so far this game. Execution is calling done. Umbral Glaive also completed. I have to check in on seeing where the stacks are for this center, because so far the center not really doing too much. As Fasting Center sort of had her time in the sun and really has seemed to have fallen off.
Yeah, it does feel that way. I mean, Gorilla, he's down on levels on the Ornn. He's 0 and 2. He's had a couple of decent engages, but not really much besides that. And the one thing that I was looking at on that XP graph was how Rich was more than a level ahead of his laning opponents, and is the highest level in the game with the most gold.
Yeah.
As that Aatrox is a big fellow.
Look, and this goes back to Heroes of the Storm tactics. Laning phase means nothing. Win team fights, get kills. And look,
CS,
it's working.
you don't need to CS either.
Nah, it's not about that. He's still losing in CS. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But he's not down by too much. Especially now, as he's been able to take control of some of these side lanes.
Yeah.
Bit of a slow push now being set up towards the top side. As you can see, Kuzan with his new Banshee's Veil complete. Runon's Hurricane is in. This fight for the Mountain Drake, Dynamics will not be stronger than this particular point in comparison to SANDBOX for the rest of the game. They have to try and force a fight here, and they should be able to do so easily. Let's see whether Summit has anything up his sleeve. See whether he can escape Guga and his ever-present exhaust. Kuzan diving into the backside will find Fate for a little bit of extra damage. Smoke screen coming down there as well. FaZe clears out the minion wave.
Just trying to switch guns there away from the root gun and get onto Sandom, it looks like. But here we go. On to the Drake fight. Kuzan coming over. He's going to scout out Summit and deny the flank.
Yeah, bubble does land, but no follow-up there onto Rich. FaZe a lot of damage, especially close range with these weapons. Kyon is going to be able to get that smite as Infernal Chains land, but Guga immediately falls down. The exhaust did come in, but it was onto Gorilla this time, and now maybe it's going to be an opportunity for Summit. He has Flash, he has Slicing Maelstrom, and Dynamics are down a support.
Yeah, down to support, so you can see Kuzan still trying to be tricky here as they're going to use this advantage to go in and push mid. They're moving over towards Baron, but I don't think there's any chance in this world that they're going to try to start that up right now. So they'll take what they can get after Team Dynamics outplayed them here in this team fight. Great positioning. They have the flank from Kuzan, but also the two-pronged approach in the front from Rich and Guga. Even though Guga does die, he zones everybody out because he's like, you can't just walk into me. I'm going to block everything. And that's what allows Beyond to pick up that Mountain Drake. And now we're on Mountain Soul. Points up next. So in 4 minutes, we were talking about these item power spikes. Dynamics obviously extremely strong right now, and it's going to be the best time for, of course, Aatrox and LeBlanc, but even as time goes on, the Graves and the Aphelios are going to be feeling pretty good about themselves as well. So, from the lead, really liking Dynamics' position right now.
So you can see SANDBOX trying to move Gorilla towards some ornaments. Not quite level 12 just yet, and needs another level after that before he can build his own. But the Abyssal Mask is going to be coming in soon, and that will be when SANDBOX do start to put some extra money in those coffers as far as those stats are concerned. We'll see whether it is going to be available before the next 3 minutes and 20 seconds, which is where Dynamics will be looking for that Mountain Soul like you were talking about. I think stealing away that Mountain Drake earlier on is really pivotal at this stage of the game. Really does put SANDBOX back in it with a chance against Dynamics, even though it does feel like they are very favored as this game goes on.
Yeah, the Zoe absolutely going to be key. 2-0-1 has the most farm in the game. So for what we have said about the difference between Fate and Dove, Fate has been doing a pretty nice job in terms of keeping up in this game.
Yeah.
And it's going to be key for him to be landing all of his skill shots, because a Zoe that can't do that is obviously not going to be very effective. And that seems pretty obvious, you know, just on paper, but especially because he is the most ahead for his team, it's going to be more important than normal. As FaZe, he's already beginning to really do some nice damage.
Yeah.
As he gets an extra crit cloak to begin really shelling out the damage.
He's real scary. As Rich is going to be able to take down this control ward. It looks like Summit doesn't even want to fight him. Does have Morellonomicon. That is going to be very important against Rich, especially. Might mean that some of those plays that he was making early on are not going to be as impactful.
Double Morello.
Yeah, there's a lot of forbidden books. We said that they were sinning, but they've even got the book that has all the instructions on how to sin.
Yeah.
In multiple people's hands. I mean, they're passing them out. It's like a bookstore signing day or something like that for the guy that wrote Morellonomicon.
And it's great against Aatrox and Aphelios, but it's not great against their item choices on the side of Dynamics, because we got 3 Merc Treads, we have MR on Braum. Obviously the Void Staff would have been pretty nice, but maybe he goes Morello and Void Staff or something like that to handle it. We'll have to wait and see how these two players do itemize for their third item, or if it's even going to matter, if we even get there, because I think if Team Dynamics pick up the Mountain Soul, we might be in for a pretty quick end of the game.
This is an interesting 2v2, as there's the Subjugate, but Beyond is going to get past the pillar, and it actually blocks out on Fleek. Summit just teleported in to try and keep everyone alive, and Dynamics say thank you very much for the Summoner spell. We'll back on out.
Yeah, Beyond is he's playing very confidently in this game, which is something you really like to see.
He has so much farm, Valdez.
It's insane.
It's really silly.
He's like at, what is it, like maybe 8.5 CS per minute as a jungler? Like, that doesn't happen. It's pretty crazy what he has been able to do.
Very impressive here from Beyond, and it means that he's starting to steal away camps from OnFleek as well, which is why he's falling a little bit further and further behind. Goes back, gets an Executioner's Calling. We've got the Phantom Dancer done here for FaZe as well. So much crit built up already on this Aphelios, 3 out of Spike. Very, very strong right now as Fate goes in, does get a bit of damage, but Cougar is going to be A-okay. And now the Mountain Drake fight will start. 5 seconds before she does come down off her perch. Kuzan thinking about getting into a flanking position, pops over that wall, see whether he can clear out the vision that is there for SANDBOX. SANDBOX are relatively prepared for this with the vision that they have accrued. You can see Dynamics, they move into the pit very confidently, and Kuzan's going to be able to land the stun onto OnFleek. OnFleek getting into smite position, Summit moves on over, but was spotted out, and now Rich is trying to play goalie. Kuzan dives into the backline, Root has to go golden, and there's the Mountain Soul who we were talking about. In goes Summit, but again, instantly exhausted and taken down. Cougar, of course, is going to die. He dies every team fight, and then Team Dynamics are able to win. Gorilla not going to be able to run away from this one. Fate and Root, the only ones left alive. Could this be the pentakill for Beyond? The answer is no, because of course Kuzan's going to steal one of them away, and now Fate has to watch as Dynamics probably just take a Baron. Fate, or he's just going to die.
Yeah, he does have that flash, so he's going to be able to get away, but man, Team Dynamics coming in here strong in game number 1, just stomping SANDBOX here in this mid to late game. They take the big fight, they're going to move over and take the Baron. Just look at that positioning again. They had a control ward for Summit, they saw him coming. Rich up 2 levels, able to zone him out. Kuzan on the left, fantastic play, able to zone everybody out. Summit immediately exhausted, no, he does nothing. Root has to play so far back, and when you're playing front to back like this with perfect positioning in this fight, Graves is just going to have a ball. I mean, he's so fed right now. We can only say it so many times, but it's so crazy to see the amount of damage he is doing when he's allowed to do it, as now he's 4-0-4. I think SANDBOX might not be found in the LCK at this rate. We'll have to see what they can do for game 2, because I think the nail's in the coffin for this one, Atlas.
I think it is. I think Kuzan's also had a really good game thus far. But of course it is a best of 3. SANDBOX can turn it around. And so far Dynamics in this game have just had full control at every turn. It's a mortal reminder on Beyond. Like, he already has that item fully completed. Summit has to go back to base, as now with Baron buff, Dynamics are knocking on the front door of SANDBOX's base. I think stopping picking the fasting center is a good idea. At this point in time, wasn't working for T1 either.
First picking Trundle.
Yeah, first picking Trundle also probably not the best.
With Graves available. That I think that's their drafts are just antiquated, right? They're just like behind 3 weeks or something, you know.
And this is with new coaching stuff as well, so it's A little bit worrisome that the same issues that have been plaguing SANDBOX are still there. Because, my God, this turret is melting if FaZe is going to be able to get in range to shoot it. Takes a fair bit of damage there, though, as now SANDBOX trying to defend. Beyond is going to get stunned. Otherwise, he's going to be able to make it out. Kuzan clears this minion wave, and the split push is working here for Dynamics. This fresh minion wave down towards the bottom side should help take down this turret, but the rest of them rotate over. The minion wave in mid lane, not quite there yet. FaZe just walks up and gets some extra damage there, puts down his sentry turret to make sure that he can, and that's going to be base broken in both sides very, very early. 32 minutes into this game, these two inhibitors going to be the next target. No fight to be started, just get his face. Takes way too much damage, and now Rich moves on in to try and get this team fight started. Moonlight Vigil is fantastic from FaZe in the backline as well. As inhibitor on bot side is going to be taken, the one in mid already down, and FaZe is getting to work on these Nexus turrets. It's looking pretty over, Valdez. As now in goes Summit for that last-ditch effort. I believe he got no, the exhaust wasn't up, but he just didn't do enough damage, as that wasn't the real Kuzan. Rich keeps himself alive. Umbral Dash gets himself out of there. The infernal chains are going to land. The center locks down the kill, but there are no more Nexus turrets left. Team Dynamics will walk away with a Game 1 win up against SANDBOX.
And what a win, too. It wasn't just your run-of-the-mill, everyday, you know, just barely winning there or something. It was a very clean game and a great showing from Team Dynamics, really coming out here and impressing me. So I'm just excited to see what they have in store for Game 2. Obviously, on that push, it was, you know, pretty much over at the end there. But just the entire game, I loved their positioning. It sounds like their communication, or rather, it looks like their communication is really fantastic, because their positioning, you know, just stems from that in the game. And it's just really good stuff to see. SANDBOX, we talked about their draft. That was, I think Ellis is at home watching this and crying right now. And
or maybe he turned it off.
Maybe he did.
He saw the draft, because
he's like, okay, Game 1 is over.
Yep.
And it did kind of feel that way. Beyond is like, okay, I wish every game was like that. That was the easiest game of my life.
Well, it's good that in this particular part of the series, you're able to pick up a win like this, because this is the team coming up from Challenger. The pressure is often on them, and they often don't have as much experience. And it's so weird thinking about that when it's so many players that have been in the LCK, like Kuzan, like Beyond, Rich as well, playing for Gen G. FaZe showing that he has some massive potential, especially on his now 7-0 Aphelios for the season. And Guga is the god of promotion. This guy has been here 6 times, as we've mentioned a few times so far. And now in the SANDBOX camp, we'll have to see what they do to change up what was a pretty abysmal draft. So maybe Joker is going to get some words here from the rest of the team. We'll see whether it's going to be enough for them to pull themselves back in this series. They have to win the next 2 games in this best of 3, but still a chance to do so. As to be perfectly honest, my money's on Team Dynamics at this stage. They just look like the better team in Game 1.
Yeah, absolutely. From draft into the game, I mean, the Trundle first pick into
like the easiest Graves pick of your life.
Who we have seen having, you know, I think the only thing that would have been worse is maybe a Lee Sin pick. Man, just not impressive at all from the side of SANDBOX, and they're going to have to turn it around big time when it does come to games 2 and the 3rd, if we even get there. As we take a look at the Team Dynamics booth, obviously a lot of you guys might not be super familiar with some of the players, but you'll see some familiar faces, and all eyes right now are on Rich, who did have a big game himself.
He did, and you know, he didn't have a great laning phase. He was down by a lot of CS early, but understanding the amount of shields and heals that were going to come in from the Dawning Shadow, utilized that flash very nicely to lock down that first blood. Got a whole lot of these flanks in beautiful order, but I had to give player of the game to Beyond. He was just too good at farming the jungle and stopping the Trundle from doing anything.
Yeah. If I had to give a real MVP or player of the game, I might have given it to SANDBOX's draft. Because
give it to Joker.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that, I just can't get over it. It's like, I know how LS feels now, and it's like his responsibility to talk about it. It's like, well, I don't know, man. Just not much. They're going to have to change a lot here. As we see multiple Dragon fights that were just really clean. and pretty much perfect positioning from Team Dynamics. Everybody's doing their job. You know, FaZe is in the back hitting the Dragon, Beyond's helping, Kuzan's flanking, Rich is stopping the flank, and Guger is the shield in the front. He's the wall. And they just repeated that same formula like 3 times in a row.
Again, yeah.
As Graves got massive and Aphelios got massive. Everybody on their team was so far ahead as the game did come along here.
We're going to have a listen in to Team Dynamics as they take down the base. That Moonlight Vigil was absolutely beautiful to watch from FaZe. And I think at this point they know that they've won.
미드 미는 중, 미드 미는 중, 타워 미는 중. 야, 나 해나 견제할게. 상대 수면 빠졌어. 이거 바텀 웨이브. 캐는 노플. 캐는 노플. 캐는 나왔어. 이거 타워부터 아래 거부터 치자. 아래 거부터. 야, 나 이거 나 죽을 거 같아. 안 죽었다. 타워. 타워만 치면 끝날 것 같아. 타워. 나이스.
That was one of my favorite nices.
He's like, that was really easy. Guger said multiple times. He's like, that was easy. So easy. Guger is not holding back.
It was so easy because he died at the start of every fight and they still won. It didn't even matter. It was like watching your stream last night when you were playing that Leona game. But still, you know, it was pretty impressive. You know, you had some great performances.
True.
If you haven't followed him yet, make sure you do so. Over at, what are you, Brendan Valdez?
Yeah.
Yes, got your full name. It's harder for me to get mine. I'm Max Anderson, the most generic name possible.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
That's what your name should be, actually. Your stream title, Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Should just be you with glasses on.
Yep.
Sunglasses.
Yeah. I mean, I'm Australian, so's Hugo Weaving, who did say Mr. Anderson a
go.
whole lot. The Matrix 1 was shot in Sydney. It all makes some sense. But what also makes sense is going to a short break before we come back with game number 2 to see whether Team Dynamics can tie this one up with a 2-0 or whether SANDBOX picks the draft and fight back. We'll see you after the break.